My daughter told me the investment account was empty. So why did the bank teller slide me a folder marked irregular activity? Beneficiary change pending? I'm 71, and I've learned that the worst thefts don't come with masks. They come with a casserole, a soft voice, and a sentence that starts with "Dad, we just worry about you." The account wasn't some casual savings pot. It was my spine. A 7-figure investment account I built after selling my small logistics business outside Phoenix. 26 years of contracts, late nights, and a reputation that kept me fed long after my knees stopped cooperating. I'd set it up to do one thing: carry my wife and me through old age, then leave something clean and uncomplicated for the grandkids. My wife, Elaine, had been gone for 3 years. After the funeral, I did what a careful man does. I simplified. I consolidated accounts. I updated wills. I created a revocable living trust so probate wouldn't chew up what I'd built. I thought I'd removed friction. I'd actually created a target. My daughter, Marissa, started calling more. Not often enough to look loving, just often enough to look responsible. "Dad," she said one Sunday evening, voice full of practiced concern, "I checked your statements like you asked. That big account, it's basically empty." A pause. Then, softer. "I didn't want to scare you." I didn't correct her. I let the silence do what it always does. Invite a person to fill it with their own intentions. "What do you mean, empty?" I asked. She exhaled like I was the one putting her through this. "Transfers. Withdrawals. I don't know, maybe scams. You've been clicking weird emails, right?" "I don't click weird emails. I don't even click normal ones without thinking." But I thanked her, calmly, like a man receiving weather information. When I hung up, I checked my calendar. 13 days until the trust's annual review meeting with my attorney, the one Marissa had been oddly insistent about attending to support you. 13 days until the window closed on changing beneficiaries without additional notarized steps because of a policy update my brokerage had sent last month. A deadline. A clock. I put on my jacket, grabbed my cane, not because I needed it, but because it encouraged underestimation, and drove to the bank myself. The teller was young, neat, and visibly relieved when I asked for a private room instead of making a scene. She escorted me back, shut the door, and didn't sit. "I'm not supposed to," she started. I held up a hand. "I'm not here to threaten you. I'm here to understand what my name has been used for." Something in my tone, old men who don't beg, don't bluff, made her swallow. She slid a folder across the table like it was hot. "I flagged it," she said. "There was a request to link your investment account to a new external transfer profile. Same IP address used to access your online banking. Same day, a beneficiary change form was uploaded. It's not finalized yet. There's a 14-day verification window." 14 days. My daughter hadn't told me about a pending change. She told me it was already gone. I opened the folder slowly, not because my hands were trembling, but because I wanted her to watch me take it in without flinching. Inside, printouts of login activity, a scanned beneficiary change request, and a note stamped by compliance. Beneficiary, Marissa Kane, primary. Her husband, Nolan, contingent. My grandkids, who the trust was designed to protect, reduced to nothing. The teller's voice lowered. "Sir, the signature on the uploaded form doesn't match the one on file. It's close, but close isn't correct." I looked at the form. My name was there in cursive that looked like someone copying from a photograph. I didn't correct the teller's assumptions about me being confused. I let her think she was saving an old man from himself. "Can you print everything?" I asked. She hesitated. "I can print the activity log and the compliance note, the uploaded form too, but I need to note it in the system." "Note whatever you like," I said. "Accuracy is your friend." She printed. She stamped. She slid the stack into a sealed envelope. Then she said the sentence that changed the temperature of the room. "Mr. Kane, the external transfer profile was created using a phone number that isn't yours." I nodded once. "Whose is it?" She turned her screen slightly, careful, like the computer might bite her. It was Marissa's number. I didn't ask the teller to say it twice. I didn't need the cruelty of repetition. I left the bank with an envelope in my coat. The kind of evidence that makes people suddenly remember the law exists. In the car, I sat with my hands on the wheel and watched a couple in their 30s load groceries into a trunk. The man laughed. The woman swatted his shoulder. Normal life. People who hadn't yet learned what family can justify when money is involved. I drove home. On my porch, I found a casserole dish with a sticky note. Made your favorite. Love you, Dad. Call me. Elaine used to make casseroles when she wanted to apologize without admitting fault. I carried it inside and set it in the sink without tasting it. Then I went to my desk and opened my trust binder. I didn't panic. Panic is expensive. I called my attorney, Saul Eberman, and left a message that sounded like routine. Saul, it's Ben Kane. I want to move our annual review up. Something time-sensitive. Call me tonight. Then I made a second call to my grandson, Tyler. Tyler is 23, a quiet kid studying accounting because he likes things that add up. He works part-time at a car wash and thinks his mother's emotional storms are normal weather. Grandpa, he answered. Ty, I said, I need you to do a favor. Come by tomorrow. Bring your laptop. And don't tell your mom. A pause. Is everything okay? It will be, I said. That's why I'm asking. I didn't tell him more. I didn't want him choosing sides before he had facts. That night, Marissa called again. Did you go to the bank? She asked, too quickly. I let a beat pass. Why would you think that? Because she knew I'd go. Because she was monitoring the situation, not caring about me. I worry, she said. They'll confuse you with paperwork. Let me handle it. I kept my voice mild. Come by tomorrow. Relief flooded her tone. Of course. Nolan too. There's no need, I said. A small pause, her recalibration. Well, he's just concerned. He's good with money. Better than me. That was new. Nolan was never good with money when family needed a loan. Only when money belonged to someone else. Tomorrow, I repeated. Then I hung up first. I didn't correct her. I let her believe I was cornered. In the morning, Tyler arrived early. He looked around like the walls might repeat what he said. I slid the sealed envelope across the table. Read, I said. Tell me what it means. He opened it, eyes scanning. His face changed in slow increments, confusion, disbelief, then something hard. Mom did this, he whispered, like speaking it might make it true. I don't know who did it, I said, but the evidence doesn't care about feelings. Look at the phone number. He stared at it, jaw tight. That's Mom's. Now look at the date. He did, 10 days ago, which was when she came over and asked me to update my emergency contacts. I said, remember? Tyler nodded slowly. I remember the moment too. Marissa taking my phone, tapping through settings with quick hands, smiling like she was helping. Grandpa, this is fraud. Yes, his eyes lifted. Are you going to call the police? Not yet, I said. He looked startled, almost offended, like justice should be immediate. I've learned justice is better when it's complete. We have 14 days before that beneficiary change finalizes, I said. I want it undone. I want it documented. And I want to know if this is the first time. Tyler swallowed. What do you want me to do? I want you to check something, I said. Marissa told me the account was empty. That means she expected me to believe transfers already happened. So either she tried and failed, or she succeeded somewhere else. He nodded, fingers moving to his laptop. We logged into my brokerage account the old-fashioned way, through my physical token, my own passwords, my own two-factor device, none of which Marissa should have had. I kept them in a locked drawer, or so I thought. Tyler pulled up transaction history. Nothing missing. The balance sat there like a quiet accusation. Tyler's voice shook. It's all here. Which means she lied, I said. Or she moved something that doesn't show here yet. I leaned back. Check linked accounts. Tyler clicked. 2 external accounts were listed. One was mine. The other was new, created 10 days ago. Tyler's finger hovered. Grandpa, it's labeled House Reno Escrow. I felt my throat tighten, but I kept my face still. Marissa had been talking about a small renovation loan for her kitchen. Something about resale value. Something about the grandkids needing a better space. A renovation escrow. But it wasn't her house this money was meant to improve. It was a funnel. Tyler clicked details. Routing number. Account number. And a bank name I recognized immediately, because Nolan had once bragged about using it for business. A small regional credit union. Tyler looked up. We can report it. We will, I said. But first we document everything. Screenshots. Timestamps. Then we talk to Saul. Tyler nodded, eyes wet but controlled. He wasn't crying. He was realizing his mother wasn't who he thought. There's a grief in that doesn't announce itself. When Tyler left, I asked him one more thing. Ty, if your mom asks, tell her you haven't seen me in a week. He hesitated. Grandpa, she'll do what she does, I said, and I need her to keep doing it. He left, and I sat in the quiet house that Elaine and I bought when Marissa was in high school. The house Marissa now referred to as too much for you, Dad. The house Nolan called a liability. They wanted it too. I'd felt that for months. Comments about downsizing, about assisted living, about being responsible. They weren't wrong that I was old. They were wrong about what old means. Old means I've seen schemes before. Old means I know how paperwork moves. Old means I know the difference between love and management. Marissa arrived at noon with Nolan, despite my request. Of course she did. They walked in like a couple entering a staged photo shoot. Marissa in soft neutrals, hair perfect, concern on her face like a mask she'd practiced. Nolan in a polo shirt too tight across his chest, carrying himself like a man who believes confidence is credibility. Oh, Dad, Marissa said, rushing to hug me. You look tired. I let her hug me. I let Nolan pat my shoulder like I was a dog that had learned a trick. We came as soon as we could, Nolan said. Marissa's been sick with worry. Marissa made a small sound, the kind that invites pity. I motioned them to sit. Setting. My dining room. The same table where Elaine used to grade papers and Marissa used to do homework. Conflict. They wanted me disoriented. I wanted them comfortable. Turn. I gave them what they thought was control. I went to the bank, I said calmly. Marissa's eyes widened, performed surprise. You did? Without me? I didn't want to bother you, I said. Nolan's smile tightened. And what did they say? I shrugged. They said there were some issues with online access. Some confusion. Marissa leaned forward. See, that's what I told you. It's not safe for you to manage this alone. Nolan nodded. We should be added as authorized agents. For your protection. I looked at him the way I used to look at vendors who try to change contract terms mid-meeting. Authorized agents, I repeated. Marissa reached into her purse and produced a folder. Clean, labeled tabs, like she'd been preparing for this moment. We already talked to a financial advisor, she said, just to explore options. There's a form here. It gives me limited power to help you. Nothing scary. Nothing scary is what people say when something is exactly that. I took the folder, flipped through it slowly. Durable power of attorney. Broad powers. Not limited. The signature line, waiting like an open mouth. Nolan watched my hands. Marissa watched my face. They thought this was the climax. It was only the rehearsal. I'll need time, I said. Marissa's lips pressed together. A crack in the mask. Dad, she said softly. We don't have time. If your money's already gone. I looked up, meeting her eyes. I don't believe it's gone, I said. A small flash of something, fear maybe, crossed her face. Nolan recovered first. Denial is normal. I nodded once. So is paperwork, I said. Leave this with me. Marissa tried to smile. Okay, but we should set a date. Saul's meeting is in a few days, right? There it was. They knew about Saul. They knew about the review. They wanted to be present when decisions were made. I'll call Saul, I said. Nolan stood, already assuming compliance. Good. We're just trying to keep everything smooth. After they left, I didn't touch their folder again. I put in a drawer evidence. Then I made my next move. I drove to Saul's office the next morning. Saul is a small man with sharp eyes and a calm voice. The kind of attorney who doesn't posture. He's also the kind who doesn't get surprised easily. Setting. Saul's office. Quiet, glass walls, books that have been used, not displayed. Conflict. My family was trying to seize control under the guise of care. I needed lawful leverage and a clean record. Turn. Saul confirmed the trap door already existed inside my own trust. I handed Saul the bank envelope and said, "Read." He did, silently. When he finished, he leaned back and folded his hands. They're trying to change beneficiaries and add transfer access. That's not care. That's conversion. Can we stop it? I asked. Yes, he said, but we should do more than stop it. We should protect you from the next attempt. He opened my trust file. Ben, he said, your trust has a provision you added after Elaine passed. You insisted on it, remember? I remembered. I'd been numb, but not foolish. Saul continued. If any beneficiary or immediate family member attempts to obtain trust assets through fraud, coercion, or unauthorized control, they're treated as having predeceased you. It's a forfeiture clause. A cold, quiet relief spread through my chest. I had built a wall and forgotten I'd done it. What's required to trigger it? I asked. Saul tapped the folder. Evidence, documentation, and ideally, a recorded admission or a formal finding. I can get an admission, I said. Saul's eyes narrowed. Ben, don't do anything illegal. I won't, I said. I'll do what they always do. I'll let them talk. Saul nodded slowly. He slid a separate document across the desk. And we have another tool, he said. Your brokerage account is titled under the trust, but you have the authority to change successor trustees. Right now, Marissa is listed as first successor, then a bank trust department is second. I stared at him. Marissa is first successor? You insisted. Saul said gently. You said she was the responsible one. I felt something like shame, not because I trusted her, but because I'd wanted a simple story about my only child. Change it, I said. To who? Saul asked. I didn't answer right away. I thought of Tyler, his steady eyes, his quiet discomfort with lies. Tyler Kane, I said, and if he declines, the bank trust department. Saul nodded and began drafting. Then he leaned forward. There's a ticking clock you need to respect. That beneficiary change request at the bank, 14-day verification window, you said. We should file a fraud report today, freeze transfers, and issue a written notice. That starts the paper trail. Do it, I said. Saul made calls while I sat quietly, watching the office staff move around like normal life was still possible. While he worked, I opened Marissa's folder from the day before and slid it across Saul's desk. Durable power of attorney. Broad powers. Saul's mouth tightened. She was going to take your signature. She still might try, I said. Saul nodded. Then we don't wait. We schedule the trust review meeting for 10 days from now, in my office, and we invite her. I met his eyes. And Nolan. Saul hesitated. He's not a beneficiary. He's the engine, I said. Invite him. Saul understood. He printed a meeting notice and handed it to me. Official, neutral, unforgiving. And then he said, Ben, if they think they're winning, they'll get careless. I know, I said. I didn't correct him. I let him think I was the one being protected. The next week was a slow burn. Marissa called daily, always with the same rhythm, concern, pressure, and a gentle insult wrapped in advice. Dad, did you sign the POA? Dad, Nolan found a place near us. Assisted living, but the nice kind. Dad, Tyler said he hasn't seen you. Are you isolating again? That's not healthy. Each call was a fishing line. I gave her small, harmless truths. I'm tired. I'm thinking. I don't want to be a burden. The words she wanted to hear. Meanwhile, Saul filed the fraud report. The bank froze external transfers. The beneficiary change request was marked under investigation, but we didn't tell Marissa. That was the double story. What she thought was happening. Her father was slipping. The money was vulnerable, and all that remained was paperwork. What was actually happening? Every move she made was being documented, time-stamped, and arranged into a neat legal narrative. On day 7, Nolan showed up unannounced. He stood on my porch like a man who owned it. Setting. My front porch, late afternoon sun, neighborhood quiet. Conflict. Nolan wanted to intimidate me into signing. I wanted him to overreach on record. Turn. I invited him inside, into my own audio-recorded kitchen. I was in the area, he said, stepping in without being asked. Marissa's stressed. We need to solve this. Sit, I said. He sat. He glanced around, eyes assessing, like the house was already inventory. You know, he said, if your accounts are compromised, the best thing is to consolidate everything under one manager. Someone younger. Someone with time. Someone like you, I said. He laughed lightly. I'm not saying me. I'm saying us. I poured him water. Not because he deserved hospitality, but because water makes people talk longer. He leaned forward. Let's be real, Ben. This money. Elaine would have wanted it to help the family now. Not sit and grow while you slow down. He said slow down, like he was being kind. I didn't argue. I asked questions. And how would you use it now? I said. He shrugged. College. The kids. Fix the house. You know life. Your house, I said. His eyes flicked away. Our house. Marissa's house. It's the kids' home. I nodded slowly, like considering. That's why you set up that escrow account. I asked gently. His face went still. What escrow account? I let the silence stretch. His pupils shifted, calculating. Then he laughed again, too loud. You're mixing things up. I leaned back. Am I? He stood abruptly. Look, I don't know what you think you saw, but we're trying to help. If you want to be stubborn, fine. But don't accuse us of things. Marissa will be devastated. He moved toward the door, and then he made his mistake. You don't even know how lucky you are, he said, hand on the knob. Most people our age would have already moved the money and not told you. Our age, not my age. His mask slipped and revealed the shared plan. I didn't stop him. I let him leave with his own words hanging behind him like a scent trail. That night, I saved the audio file, uploaded it to Saul's secure portal, and went to bed early. On day 9, Marissa tried a different approach. She invited me to dinner at her house. It'll be good for you, she said. The kids miss you. Nolan made steaks. Steaks, a celebration meal. They thought they were close to the finish line. I agreed. Setting, Marissa's dining room. Family photos on the wall, social image curated. Conflict. She wanted to perform family unity and pressure me in front of witnesses. I wanted to watch, listen, and collect. Turn. Tyler's face told me he knew more than he could say. At the table, Marissa was bright. Nolan was jovial. The grandkids were distracted by their phones. Marissa raised a glass of wine. To Dad, she said, for trusting us. Trusting us. Words that make the later betrayal feel like a misunderstanding. I smiled faintly. Thank you. Halfway through dinner, Nolan said, we should talk about the house. The stairs are dangerous. We could list it, put the money somewhere safer. Somewhere safer, I repeated. An annuity, Marissa offered quickly. Guaranteed. No volatility. No risk. No visibility either. No paper trail I controlled. I nodded like I was hearing wisdom. Then Marissa reached under the table and brought out the POA folder again. Dad, she said softly, just sign it tonight. Saul can review later, but this gives us the ability to stop any fraud immediately. That was clever. If I signed, they could override the freeze, argue authority, and push the beneficiary change through with my agent verifying. I looked at Tyler. He stared at his plate, jaw rigid. He didn't meet my eyes, but his hand, under the table, made a small gesture, a shake of the head. I didn't correct him. I let him keep his loyalty hidden. I closed the folder and slid it back to Marissa. Not tonight, I said calmly. Marissa's smile held for a second too long. Dad, I said not tonight. I repeated. The room cooled. Nolan's voice sharpened. You're being difficult. I looked at him. I'm being careful. Marissa's tone turned syrupy. We're on a timeline. If the bank needs verification. There it was. Verification. 14 days. She was watching the window. I set my napkin down. Saul's scheduled meeting, I said. 10 a.m. in his office. Day after tomorrow. Marissa blinked. Why so soon? Because you said my account was empty, I said. That seems urgent. Nolan's eyes narrowed. Marissa forced a laugh. Right. Yes. Good. We'll be there. She smiled, but her fingers gripped her wine glass too tightly. When I left that night, I heard Nolan's voice through the door, low, angry, the sound of a man who feels the plan slipping. I didn't turn back. On day 11, my phone buzzed with a notification. Password reset attempt. Then another, two-factor code requested. Then another. New device login blocked. They were trying again. They didn't know the freeze was in place. They didn't know Saul and I had moved the successor trustee designation. They didn't know I'd added an extra security layer and switched my authentication to a hardware key they couldn't access. They were hitting a wall and blaming the wall for existing. I took screenshots, forwarded them to Saul, and waited. On day 12, Marissa came alone. Setting. My living room. Morning light. Her eyes puffy like she'd rehearsed crying. Conflict. She wanted to guilt me into giving control. I wanted her to admit intent. Turn. I offered her a way out that required honesty. She refused. She sat on my couch like she belonged there, hands clasped. Dad, she began, voice trembling. Nolan says you think we're stealing from you. I didn't respond. Silence is a mirror. People eventually see themselves. I would never, she said quickly. I've done everything for you. I nodded slightly. Have you? Tears formed. Real or not, they served her. You don't understand what it's like, she said. We're drowning. The mortgage, the kids, everything is expensive. And you're sitting on all this money, like it's a trophy. A truth slipped out, resentment, not concern. Elaine used to call it counting other people's pockets. I kept my voice level. If you needed help, you could have asked. Marissa's mouth tightened. We did ask. You said no. I remembered. Nolan had asked for $50,000 to invest in a business opportunity. I'd asked for documents. He called me distrustful. I'd said no. Marissa leaned forward. Dad, you're punishing us for one mistake. People make mistakes. A mistake is forgetting a birthday, I said, not changing beneficiaries. Her eyes widened, fear. So she knew. I don't know what you mean, she whispered. I stood slowly, letting my age show. Saul's office, I said. 10 a.m. tomorrow. Bring Nolan. Bring whatever you think proves your innocence. She swallowed. Dad, please. I'm giving you a chance to be honest, I said. Don't waste it. She left with her tears still wet, but her eyes dry. Day 13 arrived like weather. Saul's office was quiet when I walked in. I wore a plain suit. I carried no folder. Saul had everything. Marissa and Nolan arrived 5 minutes late, breathless in a way that suggested drama, on purpose. Setting. Attorney's conference room, glass table, legal comm. Conflict. They expected negotiation and emotional leverage. I expected truth and consequences. Turn. Saul opened with a document they didn't know existed, my trust's forfeiture clause. Saul began, professional, neutral. Benjamin Kane has requested a formal trust review due to suspected unauthorized access and attempted beneficiary alteration. Marissa's face tightened. This is ridiculous. Nolan laughed lightly, performative. Come on, this is family. Saul didn't react. He slid a document across the table. This, Saul said, is a compliance report from the bank noting a beneficiary change request uploaded with the signature mismatch, linked to a phone number belonging to Marissa Kane. Marissa looked at it like it was written in another language. Nolan leaned in, then back, scoffing. That doesn't prove anything. Phone numbers can be spoofed. Saul nodded once. Correct, which is why we also have login records correlating to devices in your household. Marissa's voice rose. Dad, are you doing this to me? After everything. I looked at her calm. I'm doing this because you did it to me first, I said. Saul continued. We also have an audio recording. Nolan stiffened. What audio recording? Saul pressed play. Nolan's voice filled the room. You don't even know how lucky you are. Most people our age would have already moved the money and not told you. The room went still. Marissa turned to Nolan. shock sharpening into betrayal. Nolan's face flushed. That's out of context. Saul stopped the audio. Context doesn't change intent. Marissa's voice broke. Nolan, what did you do? Nolan snapped fast. I didn't do anything. Your dad's paranoid. He's turning you against me. That's what men like Nolan do when the ground shifts. They try to make everyone dizzy. Saul slid another document across the table. This is the trust instrument, he said. It contained a forfeiture clause. Any beneficiary who attempts to obtain assets through fraud or coercion is treated as having predeceased the grantor. Marissa's lips parted. Dad. Saul held up a hand. Additionally, Saul said, Benjamin Kane has executed a change of successor trustee designation. Effective immediately, Marissa Kane is removed as successor trustee. Tyler Kane is appointed. Marissa's eyes darted to me. You made Tyler trustee? You forced my hand, I said quietly. Nolan leaned forward, anger no longer disguised. You can't do that. Saul's tone stayed mild. He already did. Nolan's jaw worked. Fine, then we'll contest. We'll tell everyone you're incompetent. We'll. Saul slid one final paper across. This is a report filed with the bank's fraud department, he said, and a notice of potential elder financial exploitation filed with the appropriate agencies. If you escalate with a competency smear, you'll be responding under oath. Marissa's face drained of color. Dad, you reported me? I reported what happened, I said. If your name is attached to it, that's because you attached it. Marissa began to cry then, but it wasn't performance anymore. It was the sound of a person realizing the story they told themselves won't survive daylight. Nolan stood abruptly. This is insane. You're destroying your own family. I looked at him. No, I said. You tried to harvest it. Saul's voice cut in, controlled. Here are the outcomes, he said. 1. The beneficiary change request is formally withdrawn and flagged as fraudulent. 2. Marissa Kane is removed from any role in the trust. 3. Any distributions that might have gone to her will now be held in a separate subtrust for the grandchildren, administered by Tyler and overseen by the bank trust department. Marissa looked up sharply. So my kids still. They're protected, I said, from you and from him. Nolan's laugh was ugly. So you're punishing her but rewarding her kids? You think that's justice? It's proportional, I said. It's surgical. Marissa reached for my hand across the table. I didn't pull away. I didn't squeeze back. Dad, she whispered, please. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I met her eyes. It went exactly as far as you were willing to take it, I said. That was the moment she understood the double story. She thought she was managing an old man. She'd been stepping into a legal structure designed by a man who knew grief doesn't cancel judgment. Saul ended the meeting with finality. You're free to consult counsel, he told them. But any further attempt to access Benjamin Kane's assets will be treated as intentional exploitation and handled accordingly. Marissa stood shakily. Nolan grabbed her elbow, not comforting, controlling. As they walked out, Nolan turned and threw one last line like a grenade. You'll die alone, he said. I watched him without blinking. I won't die owned, I said. He left. The door clicked shut. The silence after was clean. On day 14, the bank confirmed in writing that the beneficiary change request was voided and logged as attempted fraud. The external transfer profile was removed. My account access was secured with new credentials. Tyler came by that evening. He didn't speak at first. He just sat at my kitchen table, like he'd been holding his breath for 2 weeks. She's at home, he said finally. Crying. Nolan's furious. I nodded. He'll be gone soon. Tyler looked up. You think they'll divorce? I think a man like Nolan doesn't stay where he can't extract, I said. Tyler swallowed. And Mom, I looked at the window, where Elaine's old garden bed still waited for spring. She'll live with what she tried, I said, and she'll live with what she lost. That's the sentence. Tyler's voice was small. Do you hate her? I thought about Marissa at 8 years old, asleep in the back seat while Elaine and I drove home from the lake. I thought about the way Elaine used to defend her, even when she was wrong. I shook my head slowly. No, I said. Hate is loud. I'm just finished being used. Tyler nodded, tears finally slipping free. Quiet, embarrassed. I let him cry without telling him it was okay. It didn't need to be okay. It just needed to be real. 2 days later, Marissa sent a message. Not an apology. Not accountability. Just a photo of my grandkids with the caption, "They miss you." A bargaining chip. I stared at it a long time. Then I replied with one sentence. I will always be their grandfather. And nothing else. I didn't block her. I didn't rage. I didn't post anything on social media. I let consequences do their quiet work. Because the coldest justice isn't dramatic. It's when the door closes, and it stays closed. And the lesson, the one Elaine would have understood, the one I wish I'd remembered sooner, was simple enough to fit in a final breath. Love your family with your heart, but protect your life with your pen.